Hello and welcome to this FPL Gameweek 10 preview video with me, Holly Shand. We've got a lot to get through today. We've got the transfer deal sheet as well as my top differentials, team of the week and my top 3 replacements for the injured Alexander Mitrovic. If you are new around here, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel as well to add 10p into the charity pot for Charity Week in aid of Cancer Research UK and hit that notify button. That'll remind you when I go live. And we've got the normal Friday lunchtime stream and a special Saturday charity deadline stream to look out for this week as well. Let's get into it. Starting off with the deal sheet then, this sheet showcases my best transfers to make in each position in FPL, starting with the goalkeepers. And on my buy list this week, Vincent Gaita remains there. We are now seeing the all-important fixture swing for Crystal Palace, which will take us all the way to the World Cup. So I can see plenty of potential for clean sheets from them in the coming game weeks. I mean, the fixture list doesn't get to look much better than this. We've got Leeds, Leicester, Wolves, Everton, Southampton, West Ham and Nottingham Forest. So no top 6 teams in there at all, which is really promising for Crystal Palace. And we have seen a little bit of an indication that they are tightening things up defensively now that we're getting into the meat of the season. So hopefully Gaita can provide plenty of clean sheets during this period. Now on the sell list for this week, a little bit of a controversial one, but I've picked out goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale at Arsenal. I know he's been a popular pick so far this season, still quite highly owned in just over 10% of teams. Had a little bit of a price drop, but if you look at the next 3 fixtures for Arsenal, Liverpool, Leeds and then a blank, I think there's plenty of potential to switch to a different goalkeeper and that new goalkeeper outscore Ramsdale by more than 4 points over the next 3 game weeks. So that could be the trigger point to weighing up making that transfer. Now on the monitor list, I've got Leicester's Danny Ward. There was a lot of conversation that after the international break there was potential for him to be dropped because he had been the worst goalkeeper in the Premier League so far this season, hadn't kept a clean sheet over the opening 8 game weeks, but he duly delivered his first clean sheet of the season against Nottingham Forest, made 3 saves as well, actually picked up a bonus point for an 8-pointer. And I think now looking at Leicester's schedule, I think it's perfectly fine to hold Danny Ward and even look to play him in the easier fixtures. It could be a very good enabler for anyone that owns Ramsdale or Edison for blank game week 12 because Leicester do play Leeds at home. So a very good fixture for him to consider. Bournemouth and Crystal Palace up next as well for Leicester. We could start to see some clean sheets creeping in for the best value goalkeeper in the game. He could finally come good. On to defenders then, and on the buy list once again is Chelsea's Reece James. Really impressed me in the Champions League on Wednesday night. Managed to get a goal and an assist in that game. The perfect fantasy return from him, and we've seen him utilised as an attacking winger under Graham Potter, which is really exciting. 1 goal and 1 assist so far this season, just the 1 clean sheet that he's benefited from with Chelsea. But I do expect Chelsea to keep more clean sheets under Potter, and the fixtures certainly in the short term look really attractive. It's Wolves up next who are really struggling for goals. It will be interesting to see how Diego Costa performs in that game though against his old club. Then we've got Aston Villa and Brentford, so certainly those next 3 look great for Chelsea, and I think it's even viable to double up. More on that later. On the sell list, it's a difficult one, but I do believe that it's now time for Trent Alexander-Arnold to go. He's still in just under a third of fantasy squads. He has got a goal and an assist so far this season, but the concern for me, the fixtures, certainly over the next 2, Arsenal, Manchester City, isn't great. I'm also doubting where his head is at the moment because in the international break he went away for England duty. Reece James played 1 game, Kieran Trippier played the other. Trent, coming up to the World Cup, doesn't seem to be in favour in the England camp, so that's a massive dent for his confidence. He's not had the best start to the season for Liverpool either. They've kept just 1 clean sheet in their opening 8. Sorry, they've only played 7 games. 1 clean sheet in their opening 7 games. Well, Trent arguably should have had 2 clean sheets. He missed out on the clean sheet against Everton by being substituted 99 seconds before that crucial 60-minute mark. But he has been at fault for a lot of Liverpool's goals conceded so far this season. And there is talk among Liverpool fans at least that, you know, someone like Joe Gomez could get the opportunity at right back, someone that offers more defensive quality, maybe doesn't have the attacking threat that Alexander-Arnold had. I think he's probably safe from rotation while Robertson's out, because, you know, Robertson is another crucial player for Liverpool in terms of his dead ball ability. But I can't imagine it'll be too long before we see Trent dropped. I mean, we did see what he is still capable of as a fantasy asset in the Champions League, where he scored a brilliant direct free kick. Obviously, his dead ball ability and his set-piece involvement is really crucial for Liverpool. But you look at the likes of Reece James, Kieran Trippier, that are, you know, providing us with clean sheets and those attacking returns at a much cheaper price, and then look at Liverpool's form, I think it kind of makes sense to sell. But the great thing is, if you're selling Trent, you can literally buy anyone, because he is the most expensive defender in the game. The player on my monitor list is Nottingham Forest Neco Williams. Obviously, he's been a popular pick at the start of the season, and rightly so, because he's been a starting defender that started the game at 4.1 million. Bit of concern now though, he was substituted at half-time against Leicester, having conceded 3 goals. They bought Serge Aurier really late in the transfer window, so they have got other options now at right wing back. Obviously, Neco Williams is capable of playing on either wing, but there is a little bit of potential for him to be dropped now. So it is one to monitor, particularly for his owners that are maybe having him on the bench for the next few weeks, but hoping that he's available for game week 12, Brighton away. The dream sadly could be over in blank game week 12, and we may need to look to spend our funds elsewhere. So he's one to watch ahead of FPL Game Week 10. On to midfielders now then, and on my buy list, it's got to be Crystal Palace's Wilf Zaha. We've been waiting for the fixtures to turn for Crystal Palace for so long, and it's finally here. As I mentioned already with Gaita, Leeds, Leicester, Wolves, Everton, Southampton, West Ham, Nottingham Forest. That is a fantastic run up until the break for the World Cup. He's 7.3 million now. He's the talisman of this Crystal Palace team. I know he kind of disappointed against Chelsea, but he has 4 goals from 6 starts this season. That's still an impressive return rate for a player at his price point. He's on penalties as well. So for me, I think he could be a very good pick in the coming game weeks. And there's a lot of players that really impressed in that midfield bracket in game week 9, but you know, Zaha is the one that has got maybe the better longer term form, and he's got the fixtures as well, which makes him top of the buy list. On the sell list, another Arsenal player. It is a difficult one, but just looking at the ownership and looking at the next few games and current player form, I think Saka is probably dispensable now. I mean, it could punish owners, but I can see why a lot of managers are looking to make the move. And, you know, a lot of Saka owners have Martinelli as well, who, you know, is a player that's probably going to be on a lot of benches in blank game week 12, because he's risen in price from 6 million at the start of the season to 6.6 million now, and managers won't want to lose team value. So if you doubled up on the Arsenal midfield, then now is the obvious time to sell Saka, with the next fixture being Liverpool, then Leeds, then the blank. I mean, Saka has improved in recent weeks. He's got 1 goal and 5 assists so far this season, and he's certainly come into his own since about game week 4. He's looked a lot more attacking. Ben White has settled into the right back role at Arsenal, which has allowed Saka to get forward more, be more involved in set pieces as well. But I think given the fixtures, now is the time to sell. Certainly can look to get back on him for game week 13. And then on the monitor list, another player that is among the most sold this week, the 3rd most sold player in the game. I can't really believe I'm saying it still, but Mo Salah is falling out of favour with fantasy managers, and I can understand why. We've seen him maybe, I mean, it's hard because Haaland's just been performing so excellently all season. Salah, 2 goals and 4 assists. It's still not a bad return from 7 fixtures for Liverpool, but, you know, he's averaging less than 1 attacking return a game, whereas you've got Haaland like looking at getting at least 2 attacking returns per game. And, you know, the captaincy conversation is dead in the water now. If Haaland's fit, you have to captain him. If there's any chances even in the squad for Man City, even as a sub, you have to captain him. So then we're looking at, well, what is the point of owning Salah if we can't captain him? We've also seen that the loss of Mane has been huge for Liverpool. They have improved in recent games. We've seen a good performance from Liverpool in the Champions League. I do think that now probably isn't the time to sell Salah. I know the Arsenal fixture isn't easy, but it's certainly got attacking potential. Then the fixtures are starting to turn. After the Man City game week 12 onwards, Liverpool's fixtures are looking really good. And game week 12, West Ham at home, could be a good fixture for captaincy for Salah. So I think if you've got this far with Salah, providing that you already own Haaland, and, you know, it's still crazy that 17% of managers in the game don't own Haaland, I think you can hold Salah for now, ride out the next couple of games. The attacking fixtures might help him anyway, because Liverpool play a little bit of a different style of play when, you know, they're playing against a team like Man City that have got quite high possession. I think there will be opportunities for Salah, even if it's a penalty. So I think you hold him for now because he's going to be a useful asset in game week 12. Trent's a sell. Salah is certainly one to hold for now. Moving on to our forward lines then, and if you watched my watch list video earlier this week, you'll know that Ollie Watkins is high on it. Underperformed so far this season, granted just 1 goal and 2 assists, but he was particularly attacking in game week 9 and, you know, was dominating a lot of the underlying numbers in terms of his involvement, had a lot of shots on goal, for example. He was top for shots in the box with 6. He was unlucky to not deliver those attacking returns, and I'm hopeful that given the fixture schedule, remember that Aston Villa play Nottingham Forest next, who've just conceded 4 goals to Leicester. I think there's potential for Watkins to come good. Chelsea up next after that, but then Fulham and Brentford. I think in the next 3-4 game weeks, particularly, you know, Fulham away game week 12, it could be a useful enabler for that blank game week as well. So I don't think he's a bad option for our forward lines right now. On the sell list, it's got to be Newcastle United's Alexander Isak. We don't know at the moment whether he's fit and available for game week 10. However, Callum Wilson returned from injury in game week 9, scored a goal. So there is going to be lots of rotation because there's a lot of options in that Newcastle United attack, and that makes me want to avoid it altogether. I know those managers that are concerned about Mitrovic availability in game week 10 are maybe looking at Callum Wilson as well. I think right now you can't go near either of them because they're going to share game time when they're both fit. The thing that we need to bear in mind is that both of them are quite injury prone, so there will be periods where you can get on board both of them, but providing that they're both fit and available, I think you just avoid for now. On the monitor list is Alexander Mitrovic then. We are now Thursday morning, I'm recording this. We still do not have news whether Mitrovic is going to be available for this week or not. My gut feeling is that he won't be available for game week 10, but has the potential to be back soon, whether that be in game week 11 against Bournemouth at home or blank game week 12 against Aston Villa at home. Now, if he's ruled out for longer than 2 to 3 weeks, I do think that is his sell, but I do believe that if he's going to be back for game week 11 or 12, you're going to want him in your teams again. I mean, after Haaland is basically the second attacking player on our team sheets right now, given the returns he's managed at the start of the season, 6 goals in 7 appearances, plus that early sub. So for me, he's a hold for now, unless we get news that he's out for, 3 weeks or longer. I think you need to hold on to him. Moving on to differentials then, and as always, I'm going to give you one player in each position, starting with defenders, and I did mention doubling up on that Chelsea defence at the top of the stream, and I think Thiago Silva could be a very good option this game week as well. The things that have stood out for me is that Chelsea look a far better defensive unit under Graham Potter. I think we're going to see plenty of clean sheets in the upcoming games. And when you've got Wolves, Aston Villa, Brentford in the next 3, then, certainly plenty of potential. And the thing that's gone under the radar is that it's got 2 assists in the last 2 games. We know the attacking threat that he carries from set pieces as well for Chelsea. So for me, at 5.4 million, he could be a good option to go to if maybe you're looking to downgrade Trent and you maybe already have James, Trippier and some other, familiar faces in that back line. Then I think as a differential, Thiago Silva could be the one to go with. Now, in midfield, it's a player that I had a focus on earlier this week in my watch list. It's Newcastle's Joe Willock. Brentford at home next, followed by Manchester United and Everton. I think Willock looked really attacking in game week 9. He actually topped the list for expected goal involvements in game week 9 with 2.1. He was 7th for XG and 2nd for XA. Got 2 assists in the game against Fulham. Obviously, the red card did change the game and maybe made these attacking stats a little bit more favourable for Newcastle than it would have been if they were playing against 11 men. But looking at his price point right now, I think he could be a very good option. We have to remember Andreas Pereira at Fulham, he's not looking like the go-to budget midfielder anymore. He's sharing set pieces with Willian. There's potential for Mitrovic to miss game time as well. All of that dents his attacking potential. I think it's perfectly viable if you've got a little bit of funds in the bank to get someone like Willock. He could be a great enabler if we do need to bench Mitrovic this week. And obviously game week 12, Everton at home as well, is a really great fixture for him as well. Finally, looking towards our forward lines, another player that made the watch list earlier this week is Manchester United's Anthony Martial. After coming on as a sub and scoring 2 goals in 31 minutes, I don't really know what I expect to see from Manchester United's Europa League team sheet tonight and what I need to see in there to make me think that Martial is a really good option in FPL. But 6.9 million is the same price as Mitrovic was, makes him a great option to consider for our FPL squads because he was sensational in pre-season. We all wanted him in our teams for game week 1. Then he got that injury. He's got the potential to play up front every game for Manchester United, potentially on penalties as well. And for me, he could be a great option. Everton away is obviously a fantastic fixture to start with in our fantasy squads as well, a team that are conceding a lot of chances. If we look then at my team of the week for game week 10, this is essentially my free hit team of the players that I'm expecting to score the most points this week. Had to triple up on Manchester City with the attack as well. I'm really still tempting me in my own team to move Cancelo on and get Foden because we saw De Bruyne and Foden both on the bench in the Champions League, so they're well rested for that visit of Southampton at home. I could see a cricket score for Manchester City in that game. So De Bruyne, Foden, Haaland captain, obviously all in. I've also chosen to triple up on Newcastle ahead of a home game against Brentford. Doubled up on the defence with Pope and Trippier. Obviously, I'd pick Man City defenders in there if I hadn't tripled up on the attack. And I've gone with Callum Wilson. I do expect Isaac to be out for game week 10. Wilson impressed me on his return. So I think providing the fact that he's not going to be a rotation risk this game week, he's fine as a free hit player for my team of the week, but not maybe a player I'd want to own long term. Ollie Watkins has got an opportunity against Nottingham Forest. Kind of had to pick him as well. I've doubled up on the Chelsea defence, as I mentioned already, with Reece James and Thiago Silva. Zaha creeps in as the final name on the team of the week. I think he's got huge potential ahead of Leeds at home to get some attacking returns. It's an irresistible fixture for him. We know how clinical he can be, so I've got high expectations for him this game week as well. I want to finish then with Mitrovic replacements. As I've already mentioned, we do not have firm news yet of whether Mitrovic is available or not. I don't think his availability for game week 10 is of particular concern. I think the bigger concern is more when he's going to be back fit. If there's news that he's back fit for game week 11 or 12, I think we need to hold him, put him on our benches and bring him back in for those future game weeks. But if he is going to be out beyond game week 12, then that becomes the point in which we look to sell him. So if that is the case, here are 3 replacements. The first one is probably the only striker that I'm interested in who's cheaper than Mitrovic. This is if you've got no funds in the bank like me, and that is Dominic Solanke. Current price 5.7 million, I think is a really attractive option for him. If you've got some funds in the bank, I think a move up to Ollie Watkins could be a really nice option for game week 10 and beyond. He's been a bit of an FPL points dodger in recent games, but surely that has got to end soon, and Nottingham Forest away is a perfect fixture for Aston Villa and Watkins to capitalise on. Obviously, Forest will be looking to attack in that game, which will leave Aston Villa options to break on the counter-attack with Watkins to be involved in goals. My final replacement for Mitrovic, should he be out long term, would be Manchester United's Anthony Martial. He has got the potential to take the forward role in this Manchester United side, dominate on penalties as well. He's looked really clinical. He has been in a really good headspace all season for Manchester United, and given what happened last year, that's been a real surprise. Really played well during pre-season as well. Maybe this is his time, and as a like-for-like replacement, if you haven't got funds in the bank, then Martial is the one to go for. Do let me know in the comments who your potential Mitrovic replacements are, and give this video a like, subscribe to the channel as well. Let's get an extra 10p in the charity pot for new subscribers, and don't forget to hit that notify button as well. Friday at midday is the Ask Me Anything stream, and then Saturday at midday, going up to the deadline, is the special charity deadline stream. All of your support in Charity Week is hugely appreciated. Remember that you can give more in this campaign by hitting the super thanks button or looking at the channel memberships as well. I'll be back tomorrow with the stream, but for now, have a good week.